I asked you directly yesterday if the president had already decided to fire James Comey when he met with the Deputy Attorney General and Attorney General. And you said no. Also, the Vice President of the United States said directly that the president acted to take the recommendation of the Deputy Attorney General to remove the FBI director. Sean Spicer said directly it was all him, meaning the Deputy Attorney General. Now we learn from the president directly that he had already decided to fire James Comey. So why were so many people giving answers that just weren't correct? Were you guys in the dark? Was the vice president misled again, as happened with
I know you'd love to report that we were misled and we want to create.
That weren't true.
Hold on, Jonathan. I let you finish and read off every single one of those statements. So unless you want to trade places, I think it's my turn now. I think it's pretty simple. I hadn't had a chance to have the conversation directly with the president to say. I'd had several conversations with him, but I didn't ask that question directly. Had you already made that decision? I went off of the information that I had when I answered your question. I've since had the conversation with him right before I walked on today, and he laid it out very clearly. He had already made that decision. He'd been thinking about it for months, which I did say yesterday and have said many times since. And Wednesday, I think, was the final straw that pushed him, and the recommendation that he got from the Deputy Attorney General just further solidified his decision. And again, I think reaffirmed that he made the right one.
But was the vice president in the dark too? This is important. Was the vice president in the dark too?
Nobody was in the dark, Jonathan. You want to create this false narrative. If we want to talk about contradicting statements and people that were maybe in the dark, how about the Democrats? Let's read a few of them. You want to talk about them? Here's what Democrats said not long ago about Comey. Harry Reid said Comey should resign and be investigated by the Senate. Senator Chuck Schumer said, I don't have confidence in him any longer. Senator Bernie Sanders said it would not be a bad thing for the American people if Comey resigned. Nancy Pelosi said Comey was not in the right job. Former DNC chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz said that she thought Comey was no longer able to serve in a neutral and credible way. President Obama's advisor Valerie Jarrett reportedly urged him to fire Comey. Just yesterday, Representative Maxine Waters said that Hillary Clinton would have fired Comey. If you want to talk about people in the dark, our story is consistent. The president is the only person that can fire the director of the FBI. He serves at the pleasure of the president. The president made the decision. It was the right decision. The people that are in the dark today are the Democrats. They want to come out, they want to talk about all of these, they love Comey and how great he was. Look at the facts. The facts don't lie. Their statements are all right there. I think it's extremely clear that, and frankly, I think it's kind of sad. In Washington, we finally had something that I think we should have all been able to agree on, and that was that Director Comey shouldn't have been at the FBI, but the Democrats want to play partisan games, and I think that's the most glaring thing that's being left out of all of your process stories. Matthew?
Two questions. First, as has been mentioned, Vice President Pence yesterday said the firing was based on the recommendation of the Attorney General and Deputy Attorney General. We know now that that's not true. Was the Vice President misled again, or did he mislead the American people?
I believe I've answered that question. Thank you.
If you have, I don't think I caught it, because the Vice President said yesterday that the President chose to accept and support the decision of the Deputy Attorney General and Attorney General.
He certainly accepted the Deputy Attorney. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that he wouldn't still accept his recommendation. I mean, they're on the same page. Like, why are we arguing about the semantics of whether or not he accepted it? They agreed. I mean, I'm not sure how he didn't accept the Deputy Attorney General's recommendation when they agreed with one another.
So if I may just switch topics slightly. If the president knew he was going to do this, why ask for those memos to begin with? Why not just fire Comey? Why have these memos put out and then explain that he did it because of the memos, but then say that he was going to do it either way? I'm confused as to why we even got those memos.
Look, I think he wanted to get the feedback from the Deputy Attorney General, who the director of the FBI reports to. Again, it further solidified the decision that he had made. The only person that can fire Comey was the president. He made that decision. It was clearly the right one, as evidenced by all of the comments, both by House and Senate Democrats, Republicans, and many people within the FBI. I think instead of getting so lost in the process, did this happen at 12:01 or 12:02? Did he fire him because he wore a red tie or a blue tie? He fired him because he was not fit to do the job. It's that simple. This shouldn't be a complicated process. The president knew that Director Comey was not up to the task. He decided that he wasn't the right person in the job. He wanted somebody that could bring credibility back to the FBI. That had been lost over the last several months. The president made that decision. He made it. He moved forward. It was the right one. I don't think that, you know, the back and forth makes that much difference.
Sarah. Did you call on me?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. Sarah, going back to what you said about Democrats, yeah, there are some Democrats that say that Comey should have been fired, but they're questioning the timing. Why now? Even though the Deputy Attorney General did do that, they're questioning why now. He could have waited.
I think that I've answered this. I hate to, again, just keep repeating myself, but we're kind of getting lost on the same questions here. He had decided that he wasn't fit. There's never going to be a good time to fire someone, whether it's on a Tuesday or a Friday.
Day one when he comes in.
He decided he wanted to give Director Comey a chance. He did, and he felt like he wasn't up to the task.
And then last question. Monday, Sean Spicer, when he was at the podium, he said, after the testimony with Clapper and Yates, he said, you know, he talked about there was no collusion from what Clapper said, but he also said that there needs to be a timeline when the Russia investigation ends. And then yesterday, you said it should continue. Which one is it? Should it continue or should it end? Because Spicer said the president wanted it to end Monday, and now yesterday you said it should continue. I mean, I'm just trying to find out which one it is.
I've said that we want it to come to its completion. We want it to continue until it is finished, which we would like to happen soon, so that we can focus on the things that we think most Americans, frankly, care a whole lot more about. I think the people in this room are obsessed with this story a lot more than the people that we talk to and we hear from every day. We'd like to be focused on the problems that they have. That's the point, is we'd love for this to be completed, but we also want it to be completed with integrity. And I think that was one of the other reasons, frankly, that I think that the decision the president made was the right one, because I think it adds credibility and integrity back to the FBI, where a lot of people, frankly, were questioning it.
Sarah? Say, based on the experience that you and Sean and this communications office had Tuesday and Wednesday, that you were given all of the best information to relay to the American public through us, and your job is to relay that information to the American public, we're only intermediaries, about what happened with this firing and the rationale for it.
Intermediaries. You seem to take a much more proactive approach most of the time, but I'll go with intermediaries for today. Look, I think we were absolutely given the information that we could have at that time. It was a quick-moving process. We took the information we had as best we have it and got it out to the American people as quickly as we could.
And would you say that that information was accurate then, or is more accurate now?
I would say that after having a conversation with the president, you don't get much more accurate than that.
And so by that standard, should reporters and the country essentially wait for a pronouncement from the president before believing that which is stated on his behalf by the White House communications staff?
Look, Major, I'm not going to get into back and forth that we have to have like a direct quote every single time. In this process, I gave you the best information I had at the moment. I still don't think that it contradicts the president's decision. You guys want to get lost in the process.
I don't believe asking you a question and getting an answer is lost in the process, Sarah, with all respect.
Yeah, and I'm answering those questions. It's very simple. The president decided to fire Director Comey. Nobody else gets to make that decision, and he made it. He stands by it, as do the rest of us. Thanks.
Sarah.
Mike?
Sarah. Yeah, two questions. Following up on this, back in, I think, October of last year, the former president was highly criticized by members of the FBI and other ethical folks outside of the FBI for making some comments on television that were sort of suggested that he had an opinion about how the Hillary Clinton email case should go. And the charge was that he was interfering, that he was putting his thumb on the scale of an ongoing active investigation. There was a lot of criticism from Republicans of the president about that. Talk to me about what this president did in his series of conversations with the FBI director doesn't go far beyond what former President Obama did. And to Major's point, how can you argue, regardless of maybe some pundits on TV who might be saying otherwise, how can you argue that that doesn't have an appearance of trying to influence an investigation that's actively going on.
Look, I think the president's encouraged this investigation to take place and complete so that we can move forward. We've been as compliant as possible throughout the entire process. We will continue to do so. Nobody wants this investigation to go forward and complete and end with integrity more than the president.
But people clearly know which way he wants it to come out, right? He's
on the right side. I think that he wants it to come out. He's very well aware of the actions he has or hasn't taken. He knows he didn't take any action, and I think he's ready for the rest of you guys to understand that as well.
And one last question, just to follow up on the FBI thing, and I'm not trying to be overly combative here, but you said now today, and I think you said again yesterday, that you personally have talked to countless FBI officials, employees, since this happened.
Correct.
I mean, really? Like,
really?
So are we talking
between like email, text messages? Absolutely,
50,
yes.
60, 70?
Look, we're not going to get into a numbers game. I mean, I have heard from a large number of individuals that work at the FBI that said that they're very happy with the president's decision. I mean, I don't know what else I can say. Sarah?
Was it a mistake for the White House to try to pin the decision to fire James Comey on Rod Rosenstein?
I don't think there was ever an attempt to pin the decision on the deputy attorney general. Look, I think his recommendation, again, it was extremely clear. The president, though, makes the decision. The buck stops with him. Nobody's ever tried to say that this wasn't the president's decision, that he wasn't the one that carried it out, and to try to, I think, conflate those things is just not what took place. We know that the president's been thinking about this for a long time. Wednesday, it certainly, I think, expedited the director's testimony last Wednesday, and then getting the recommendation from the deputy attorney general, I think just further solidified the president's decision.
And just to clarify one thing you said, the president has encouraged this investigation into Russia. He wants to see it reach its completion sooner rather than later. How has he encouraged it if he just fired the man who was overseeing the Russia investigation?
There are multiple people that are part of this, and it's not just the FBI. You've got the House committee, the Senate committee. Look, again, the point is, we want this to come to its conclusion. We want it to come to its conclusion with integrity, and we think that we've actually, by removing Director Comey, taken steps to make that happen. Thanks so much, guys.
You said you'd answer all of them.
Speaking of integrity, why not have an independent investigation then? That's what a number of attorney generals are asking.